Now, I really want to deal with the people that don't have a voice. I really want to deal with the people that don't want to talk about their issues. I've put this platform on to talk about untold stories.
Check it out, check it, check it out, check it, check it, check it out, check it.
Hey, Greg and a CE, call me hip hop junkie. Straight to your dome piece like Brass Monkey.
Welcome to part 2 of Mel's Truthful Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you have joined me. As you know, that this is Empowered Untold Stories, the talk show where voices will rise, silence will break, and truth will take center stage. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that we have chosen truth over comfort, voice over silence, and healing over hiding. I'm so excited about Mel's Truthful Tuesdays. Last week, we really delved into me and we spoke about my lived experience about overeating. Now, this is part 2. Now, I want to talk to you about, you don't just overeat. You don't just go into a place of depression. Something or someone has to trigger some of these emotions. Now, I'm glad that you all can join me today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Melissa Milan. I am an inspirational speaker, and I speak and I empower people about untold stories. Mel's Truthful Tuesday was birthed 3 years ago when I first wrote my book, and I was talking about an untold story that I didn't share for over 45 years. So this platform is going to help people to talk about the untold stories. Now, this is part 2 of Mel's Truthful Tuesday, because last time I shared about overeating, and I shared about going into a place of feeling depressed. So I want to talk a little bit about the depression, and I want to talk about what that felt like, and I want to talk about why it was hidden and why I went through what I went through. So one of the reasonings about the hidden of hiding depression was because of my position. Now, my position was, one, I was a mental health practitioner. I was a leader in my church. I was a wife. I was a parent. I was a daughter. I was a sister. All these things actually make up who you are. And making up who I was, I literally hid who I really was. So I was wearing a mask majority of the time. I was depressed, but I look happy. I'm a smiler. Everyone knows. Everyone says you've got a beautiful smile. And that smile would always cover up the real issue. Whereas everyone thought I was okay, but I was dealing with hidden issues inside. And I really didn't know where it all stemmed from until I began to write my book. And as I began to write, I began to understand that when I was sexually abused as a child, that's where it all stemmed from. All the issues that I went through in my life from a child to the age of 25, and I'm going to say 25 because that's when I gave my life over to God. I dealt with some real issues: drinking alcohol, smoking, being promiscuous, being sexually assaulted, being molested. All this was what was happening throughout my life. Now, some of it was masked. Some of it was hidden. Some of it was real deep rooted pain. And I didn't feel like I could speak about it. I was someone who was quite introverted when I was younger. But there was another side to me that was quite extroverted. So if I knew you, I was very extroverted. If I didn't know you, I was introverted. And I think that happens to most people. But there are some people that can walk into a room and they're so extroverted, they don't care who the people are, they don't care what's happening, they will just be themselves. And, you know, they will say anything. But I was a kind of a person that was introverted. Now, I began to work out over the years, why was I introverted? Why wasn't I someone who likes to talk and share and all of the rest of it? Now, you're thinking to yourself, but Mel, you're doing that right now. And exactly. But I had to go through a stage to find out, why wasn't I like that? I knew I was at one stage in my life, but there was a stage in my life that that happened, and in that stage I was told not to talk. So I had to be seen and not heard. And the word was get out of big people's argument. And we all know that. We have this, you know, our parents and our family members, elders, whoever you want to call them, will tell you keep your mouth closed because you must be seen and not be heard. And there was a stage that I was told that, and I became muted. And it's not because my family member didn't want me to talk, but that's what they were taught. That's what they were taught as they were growing up. You don't talk, you don't back chat, you don't say anything. Now, this new day and age, you know, these new Gen Zs, they don't really care what they say. They just say whatever they like, you know. If they don't say what they say, they call social services on you. They would tell you, listen, I'm going to call this one, I'm going to do this. If you touch me, you hit me, you talk too loud, or you... Come on, back in the days when I was young, I couldn't even open up my mouth too wide. I couldn't even tell my mum, why mum? Hey, mouth closed, muted. And God began to show me the reason why you wasn't able to talk was because of those reasons. You wasn't able to share with your family that, hold on, I was actually abused because I was taught to keep my mouth closed. And we also know that, you know, if you was rude on the road and you misbehave, your mum's friend can give you 2 lick. Your mum's cousin can give you 2 lick. And then when you reach home, you're getting another lick because she's gonna tell your mum and dad, listen, I saw her doing this, and you're gonna get double beaten. These days, people have voices. Now, I really want to deal with the people that don't have a voice. I really want to deal with the people that don't want to talk about their issues. I've put this platform on to talk about untold stories that are hidden, that have never been heard because of being muted. Some people are still muted. They're grown, big people, got family, got children, got grandchildren, but they are muted. Not because they can't talk, but because they're ashamed. Not only that they're ashamed, but because if they talk about it now, it could spiral into something else in the family line. So they have to keep it stump. And it's so difficult when you want to share, when you want to say this and you want to be free, but you have to keep it. Now, before I became a Christian, I wasn't someone, I was so solid and so like no one can make me break. I was so strong. When I got to church, I was bawling. I was crying my eyes out. I was at the altar. I was like, Lord, I never used to cry. People could die and I could just look at them and think, oh, it's just life. I never had no emotion, never had no feelings. I was a very numb person. When I came to Christ, I began to cry. I began to feel emotion. I began to feel feelings. I began to understand that God loves me. You know, I didn't even feel like I was loved at one stage in my life. And in that feeling, not feeling loved, when I met particular individuals as men, I didn't know what love was meant to feel like. And I speak about this in my book. I speak about when guys said, I want you to have my baby. I thought that this was love. I went for a stage that I was looking for love in the wrong places. I was looking for love in those places because that's what I believed that I knew best. How crazy does that sound? That I thought someone loving me was me saying I will have their child. Crazy. Crazy. I never knew that when I was writing my book, I wrote my book in 2020 in lockdown, and I was typing away. Didn't do no AI, didn't do no ghost writer. I was typing every night, typing. But while I was typing, I was actually getting my healing. Now, some of you that are writing books, that are doing it through ghostwriting or doing it because you haven't got time, I'm telling you, it was my form of therapy. As I began to write, I began to see who I really was. I began to see why I went through these issues. I began to see why I didn't do certain things. Now, there was a time in the book that, and it was really weird, because every time I started to write, I was actually being tested in that season of writing that particular subject. So when I was writing about rejection, I started dealing with the rejection in real life, till I was saying, God, what is going on here? But as I was writing, I was getting revelation of what I really went through and what it felt like. So anytime I started writing something, I was dealing with it in that particular time. But it gave me the understanding how to write. So ladies and men, if you are thinking about writing a book, I would suggest especially if you're going through things that you haven't spoken about, type away. Because I'm telling you, at the end of when I completed my book, it was like I took a big breath and went, I've done it. I've said it. I'm released. And I just felt like I had my therapy, 1 year of writing therapy session. And I understood now why I was promiscuous. I understood now why I had children out of wedlock. I understood now why I was rejected. I understood now why I went through the abuse. I understood now why things didn't go my way. I understood now why I dropped out of school. I understood all these different aspects of my life while I was writing. It's not been an easy journey. And when you're on this journey, it's difficult to explain. Because some people, when they see you and you walk into a room, they may see you and think, wow, she looks amazing, or he looks amazing. He seems like he's got it all together. He seems like, he knows what he's talking about. But sometimes, ladies, sometimes men, we do not know nothing what we're talking about. We just look confident. We just look the part. Clothes can make you look different. Hairstyles can make you look different. The words that come out of your mouth can make you sound different and believe that you're somebody else, that you're not. But behind that are masks that we literally wear to hide who we really are. Wasn't it strange in the lockdown that we were told that we need to wear masks? Now, for me, I was trying to tell people, take your mask off. But society was telling everybody to put their mask on. There were some issues. There were some, not issues. There were some times where I liked wearing a mask, because especially when you went to the shop, you didn't have to, people didn't know who you were. You had this mask on and you'd pass people and you'd know that, oh, it's your friend from a long time, but they didn't see you. There was one particular time I got into my car, had my mask on, my mum had my mask on, her mask on as well, was in the car, and I saw this guy and I thought, oh my God, I really don't want to see him. I really don't want him to recognize me. And he went, Melissa. And I was like, how did you know it was me? And he said, just your eyes. I just knew from your eyes. And I was like, wow. So what I've recognized is that we can hide behind these masks, but what people see for real, I can look at certain people, look at their eyes, I can look at their body language, I can look at what they say, and I know that they're dealing with the other stuff. You can't fool some people. You can't fool some people. It doesn't matter what you do or what you say. Sometimes, as a nurse, I've been trained how to identify people, identify them through their body language, identify from their words, listen to keen things that they say, pick out those selective words, even people that text or writes an email, I can hear what they're really saying, even though they've written, "Hi, I want to meet with you because I'm not feeling well," but I can hear something completely different. Or, "I'm so sorry that we didn't get to speak today, but I'm not well," but I can hear something completely different. Because I've been trained how to identify hidden issues and be able to, especially the field that I worked in at one stage, I worked in an assessment unit. So we had to assess a patient on the spot. It doesn't matter what time of the day they will come into our assessment unit, and we have to assess them because we have to make sure that we try and limit their risk. So we have to listen keenly to the things that they're saying so we can unpack and unpick, and we can say, okay, you're dealing with this issue, and we have to get to the bottom of the issue before we can release them to go home. Because if we release them and they go home and they end their life and we didn't listen to what they said, then that's on us. So I had to learn how to listen to what people say. So there are some things, ladies and men, that you can't fool us with. Not me personally, but other people. There's some people that don't have to be trained in mental health. They could be trained in the army. They could be trained in the police force. They could be trained at a school. They have been trained to listen keenly, to communicate, and to understand the issues of life that people go through. I'm so excited about this platform because I really want people to really listen to these untold stories that people have that haven't shared because of the situation that they're in. But I'm believing that this platform is going to help people to come out of their shell. It's going to help them to come out of where they're at. I had so many people that DM'd me at one stage when I did Mel's Truthful Tuesday, when I talked about divorce, when I talked about relationship breakup, and they were texting me saying, I'm going through the same thing. I'm about to go through a divorce. I'm about to go through these issues. And I was saying, God, I'm on the right path. I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So when God began to speak to me again about Mel's Truthful Tuesday, I know that my co-host was thinking, Mel, you've lost it, because one minute you're talking about this and the next minute you're saying this. But I know now that Mel's Truthful Tuesday is about untold stories, because that's where it was birthed from. And so I want to continue each week to talk about these stories that I've lived, these things that I've gone through, the things that other people have gone through. I want to interview people about their life and what they went through and how they suffered and how they came out and how God healed and transformed them. I want to be talking to these women and these men. And as I said as well, I'm going to be having empowered days, and they're called Unmask the Scars. And this is where people are going to unmask what they really went through. And it's going to be a platform, a safe space of panels of people that will speak about their story, that I will interview on the day, and just speak about how they got out. And some people may not have even got out, but they just want to share their story, that someone else can hear it and come out. Because sometimes you don't really know that you've actually have other people that's gone through the things that you've gone through. And if they have, some people haven't shared it. There was a particular time when I first got saved and I was smoking. And while I was smoking, I was saying, right, this is going to be my last cigarette. It's going to be my last cigarette because I'm going to get baptized. And I don't want to take cigarette into the pool. I don't want to take that into my baptism day. And I was begging and asking God, please just take it away from me. And I felt really embarrassed about it as well. I was just like, God, I just don't want to be smoking anymore. And one particular day, it just went. It just left me. And it was 3 days before I got baptized. And I was so happy. I never smoked again from that day. Now that's over 27 years ago. And what was the profound thing about this is that I didn't share it with anyone that I was smoking. I was just going to church. I was saved, but I would know I was about to get baptized. I never shared it with no one. But this is how I just know that God covers a multitude of our sins. There was one particular lady that came up one day at church and she said, there are some people in there here that are smoking marijuana, that are smoking cigarettes, that are on drugs, that are on alcohol. And I want them to come down to the altar because I want to pray with them. Now, luckily for me, God makes me laugh, I was no longer smoking. So I didn't need to go down there. But what was so profound about this story was that there was so many people that were at the altar that evening. And God proved to me that, Mel, you was not alone. People are really dealing with life issues that they struggle with, so you are not alone. And these people flooded the altar that were dealing with cigarettes and dealing with drugs and dealing with alcohol. And God was proving his point to me that, Mel, your stories that you have, everyone in this world, everyone in their life have gone through something similar to you. But some people don't want to share it because of the shame. And that's why I've put on this platform, so that people can share their stories, so that people can come out of their comfort zone, that people can have that hope, that people can say, do you know what? I don't want to be in this place anymore. I don't want to live this life anymore. I don't want to live how I'm living. And so, ladies, gentlemen, I want you to continue on this journey with me on Mel's Truthful Tuesday, where I will empower you with untold stories, that people will come and share their story, and they will come and they will no longer hide behind their scars. They will no longer hide behind their mask, but they will tell you the truth. They will tell you and they will give you their journey of what they had to face over the years. And as they do this, and as they journey on with us on Mel's Truthful Tuesday, if you have a story, if you have something that you want to share, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's an untold story that you've never spoken about, or you have spoken about it but you haven't shared it publicly, then you're the person that I want to speak to. So you can DM me, you can find me on socials, you know, on the screen you will see my socials, you know, and I want you to like, subscribe, and I want you to share my content. Not because I want people to know that Mel's Truthful Tuesdays, but I really want it to touch even one person that needs to be free, that needs to be saved, that needs to be whole, that needs to have hope. So I do this platform for those people that have some untold stories that they haven't shared. And I'm excited about the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months. And as I said, as time goes on, I'll be sharing story after story, and I will get people to come and share their story as well. So this has been Mel's Truthful Tuesday, empowered, untold stories. And we will unmask the scars. God bless you.
Check it out, check it out, check it out, check it out, check it out.